Here are 5 Brendan Fraser movies that reveal his special powers. Number 5, Airheads. Okay, Airheads isn't the best Brendan Fraser movie. It's far from being the most successful either. In fact, the movie bombed big time. But we're not here to look at numbers or to talk about what the critics said. But secretly, I think this movie's great. It's mostly about having dreams and how far you're willing to go to make them happen. You know that feeling, don't you? So in Airheads, Brendan plays Chester, but better known as Chaz. He's a crass, unkempt, impulsive kind of a guy, but somehow cool and charismatic at the same time. He commands respect with his mere presence, and he makes it look so effortless. It's no wonder why he's a natural leader. Heck, I'd follow this guy into battle. Probably not kidnapping though, but we wouldn't have a movie if that didn't happen. However, that just goes to show you how seductive certain personalities can be, if mixed properly with a dash of charm and a whole lot of assertiveness. This guy is so good, he convinces his friends to commit a felony just so they can get their song on the radio. But it all hinges on Brendan's ability to convince us that such an idea isn't totally ridiculous and is maybe almost possible.
Yeah, man, things are gonna start happening to us. No matter what that chimp from Palatine Records says.
You see, that's just it. That's the way you guys think. Think everything's gonna happen to you. You gotta make it happen. How many practices have you missed because you're cleaning up some stiff's pool?
Very few are capable of such sway, but Brendan pulls it off by giving us a character with just the right amount of sympathy and raw passion, so we just can't help but relate to the guy, and hope like hell that his dreams come true. Oh yeah, and here's something I dug up that's so crazy I almost can't believe that it's true. They want to do a reboot of this movie with Brendan. I'm not kidding. I hate reboots, but yeah, bring back the other Lone Rangers too. I'll watch it. Forget Marvel and DC. Let's have an Airheads expanded universe. Number 4, Blast from the Past. Okay, so again, not the first movie that might pop in your head when you're thinking of Brendan Fraser. This one was also skipped over by most people when it came out back in '99, but in terms of performance, his character Adam makes you think back to a time when you were young and the world was new. Adam is a character so unspoiled and separated from all the world's ills that even as an adult, he's able to rise above it with just a smile on his face. Here, he's just about the complete opposite of Chaz, at least on the surface. He has charm and bravery, but minus the grungy gregariousness. And you know, going from Airheads to here, it's hard to believe that this is the same actor that just 5 years prior convinced me that he could hold a radio station hostage with nothing but guile and a squirt gun. He's able to play Adam at just the perfect pitch, which implies, though, that there were a lot of ways the character could have rung false. Here, Brendan is able to find a sweet spot. He plays Adam with such notes of honesty, wonder, and childlike innocence, and it's so convincing that it makes you think, yeah, that's how I'd see the world if I'd grown up in a bomb shelter. And by the end of the movie, you kind of wish you had.
What is it?
The sky!
I see it, Mommy!
I have never in my life seen anything like it before! Or like you!
Number 3, Encino Man. Okay, we're getting serious now. In this one, he plays Linkovich Chomovsky. I remember thinking, I like Sean Astin, he was in the Goonies, but this guy Brendan is just on another level. For proof of that, just look back on the plot for a second.
The movie's about these 2 loser kids from Encino, and we find a caveman in his backyard. We take the caveman to school, and it makes us cool.
This guy's our ticket to fame and popularity. All we gotta do is get him enrolled in school, and he'll help us become popular.
It's totally bonkers and completely ridiculous, but that notion of wanting to be popular and how far someone would be willing to go to make that happen is pretty relatable. The success of this secret morality play depends upon the titular Encino Man staying grounded enough despite the movie's crazy premise. Brendan somehow makes it work though, even though things do get crazy sometimes. This was only his second movie, but he easily steals every scene he's in, because magically, he was able to convince people that he really was an unfrozen caveman. However, I read that he was actually hesitant to take the part because it would make him look too goofy. He thought of himself as more of a dramatic actor at the time, not someone who would take part in a teen comedy. But when I look at the character of Link, I don't see a goofy character in a silly movie. I see a challenge. Don't forget, Link barely speaks, so the performance is mostly physical. Brendan had to convey so much thought and emotion using only the language of his body. So even though he isn't able to use the tool of his voice, it doesn't matter. We know what Link is thinking, and we know what Link is feeling, because we can see his heart right there on his sleeve. Number 2, School Ties. You know how I said Encino Man was only Brendan's second movie? Well, this was his first, theatrically speaking. One of his best performances, obviously. I mean, we're on number 2 here. But hold on tight, because things get really serious with this one. School Ties is a hard drama with some very potent feelings and subject matter. Brendan's character is cruelly ostracized, which makes some scenes hard to watch, but that just made them all the more powerful and awfully personal. But still, I can't deny how good he is in this movie. As David Green, he's honest, intelligent, principled, an overall good guy, and you just like him right away. He feels like an everyman, but somehow more at the same time. However, that is a very necessary contradiction when taking the movie's theme of prejudice into account, because you've got to be able to sympathize with him, but also want to slip into his shoes almost instantly. That way, when he eventually gets rejected, you feel as gut-wrenched as he does. He does a great job, but this time his performance is rather quiet, at least compared to Link. With that character, he played everything big and loud, like he was on a stage and not the screen. Here, the camera picks up all his little moves, the subtleties. It's almost as if Brendan had an instinctive understanding of the camera's presence. Not a bad way to start off a career. Alright, we're down to it. Here we go. Number 1, Bedazzled. This wasn't a hard choice for me. Going in, I knew Bedazzled was going to be close to the top of the list, if not the top, because Bedazzled is like a Brendan Fraser variety pack. Basically, you get half a dozen Brendans for the price of one. Starting off, we get the original Elliot Richards. He's a guy on the outside looking in, but that so desperately wants to be in. He's tired of being a nobody and would do anything to stand out. Well, things may be looking up for him, though, if he's willing to sell his soul, that is.
But it's my soul! I can't give you my soul!
What are you, James Brown?
With a little magic and a lot of hubris, we get variations of Elliot, courtesy of all his hopes and dreams, and the devil's twisted sense of humor. We get the rich, powerful Colombian drug lord, the tall but short professional basketball player, the sensitive but too sensitive man, the best-selling, very gay novelist, and the President of the United States. Okay, I'm not counting his turn as Abe Lincoln.
We're going to a play?
I think you'll find it quite amusing. It's called Our American Cousin.
You know, I think I've already seen it. As a matter of fact, I'm sure I have.
Minus Abe, each person Elliot wished to be was kind of like a filter put over his pre-existing self. For an actor, I would imagine this to be a real challenge, because it's like you're playing a guy who's playing a guy. It's tricky, but it really all hinges upon how well the original Elliot comes off. Brendan's aim needed to be precise there, because if he's too annoying, then you'd want him to fail. But if he isn't pathetic enough, you wouldn't hope for him to succeed. It's a balancing act, to be sure, but if Brendan didn't give Elliot a moral compass, the devil wins, and we lose. But it is there. And in the end, when he literally faces the fire, he goes from meek to bold. It's a perfect ending for a not-so-perfect character. A character that was more like ourselves than I think we'd ever like to admit. Okay, so that tidies up my research, but I still had to piece it all together. I had to answer, why all the love? At the beginning, I told you I was surprised with what I'd found. Well, that's because I didn't expect to find out more than what I already knew, that Brendan Fraser is a good actor, and that all of this attention was nothing more than a highly publicized career renaissance. However, I've seen the truth now, and the truth turned out to be the root of his charisma, making all this recent critical acclaim just the tip of the Brendan iceberg. The answer was this: Most movie stars feel untouchable, like they live in an alternate reality. But not Brendan. In my time looking at his movies, I found there was something tangible, something believable. And it turns out this special quality was there the whole time. In his characters. They were like us. Flawed. And they could also make lots of mistakes. But they also showed us how to be genuine, how to persist, how to go for it, and how to fight back. So it was never about him coming back into the spotlight. That's just Hollywood fluff, because he never truly left. Actually, what that light gave us was merely an excuse to finally give him his just desserts. We already knew he was a great actor, but now we could have a collective moment to remember that guy we looked up to. And to say thanks, of course, for being so cool.